Welcome everyone, and this is the Transformative Vertical Flight Working Group focusing on the public services, meeting number 83. Today is Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. It's with great pleasure we have a super guest speaker, Gwen Lighter. She and Sky Sartorius at Boeing is going to talk to us about the latest, greatest, exciting initiative called the GoAERO. It's an emergency response flyer competition. This is such a wonderful effort. Really, truly appreciate and congratulate Gwen and team to make this happen. So I'm going to, the first part of the meeting, I'm going to let Gwen talk to us and Sky to go through this program. And everyone should be able to see why I'm so excited and why this is so much related to all the work we've been doing. So it's a perfect complementary effort here. And just and follow that, I'm going to share some information about the use of eVTOL aircraft for first responder, police, and medical transport applications. It's based on a SAE Edge report that several of our key members that helped put it together. The reason I picked this topic, it's really go hand in hand with what Gwen is going to talk to us about. Just a side business that the last week, on the February 7th, as part of the Transformative Vertical Flight 2024 that took place in Santa Clara, from February 6th to 8th, we had a roundtable meeting. So some of our members, so there's more than a dozen of us over there, were able to get together in person, which is always a nice setting in addition to our online dialogue and email collaborations and so on. So that was a great participation, and I truly appreciate everyone who's there. And all the input, suggestions, recommendations, and so on. So with that, I'm going to unshare, if I can figure out how to unshare my screen. For So somebody super familiar. Oh, there you go. I find my controls. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Gwen, would you take the floor?
Sure, I will start sharing now. Okay. So thank you, Johnny. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Johnny. And thank you all for joining in. There are a lot of close friends on this call. So hi to Dan and Mike and Carl, and I see Todd is here as well. So thank you. It is good to be speaking with all of you. I believe we are probably all focused on a similar mission in harnessing phenomenal aviation technology to actually save lives. And that's really what GoAERO is all about. AERO stands for Aerial Emergency Response Operations in GoAERO. So that in a nutshell is what we're trying to do. GoAERO is a 3-year global competition with over $2 million in prizes to build emergency response flyers that reach people in danger and respond to disaster wherever it is found. Our goal is to catalyze the creation of safe, portable, robust, autonomy-enabled flyers that respond to crises and rescue anyone, anywhere. These flyers will respond to challenges posed by natural disasters and climate change, medical emergencies, and humanitarian crises. So, hold on, I will get you, hopefully you can get this video. This is a 1-minute video that we put together.
We see heroes every day. Heroes who look past danger to help people in need. Heroes who step in to be the difference between triumph and tragedy. And heroes who use their minds to create technology that saves lives. We need those heroes. We're launching a new prize competition for a singular mission, saving lives. More than $2 million in total prizes is on the line for the best thinkers, creators, and inventors to stretch and challenge their minds, to change the way we reach people in the face of disaster, unlocking a new era of rescue response. An era that unleashes the power of autonomy, speed, and precision. Alongside NASA and Pratt & Whitney, GoAERO is looking for the brightest, boldest, and bravest innovators to change the way we rescue and respond to disaster. This is your chance to make history and save lives. Join us. Ready, set, GoAERO.
Fine, move to the next thing. Sorry, there we go. Okay. Whoops, not yet. There we go. Okay. So, this is what I had just said before, GoAERO, what we're trying to do, our mission, right? To build these emergency response flyers. I guess I'm speaking a little bit to preaching to the converted here when we speak about the need for it. But, you know, as we all know, in the US alone, 4.5 million people live in ambulance deserts. And in a medical crisis, that means that these people have to wait as long as 25 minutes for any kind of medical assistance to help. And that's on a good day without floods or fire or traffic or anything like that. In 2022, there were more than 380 natural disasters worldwide. It affected 185 million people. More than 30,000 people lost their lives. And as we all know, just from even, 2 weeks ago when we were in California together with massive flooding, we see the need for additional aviation tools to help us and save lives. GoAERO is very, very privileged to be supported by a number of organizations and companies around the world, including these that you see here. And we also are joined by many different partners, clearly Vertical Flight Society, but also Royal Aeronautical Society in Great Britain and 3AF in France and ICAS and Singapore Space and Technology Association. And as well, we are joined by first responder organizations. So throughout the past year, as we have built our technical rules, which we will get to into a deeper dive, and I'll be joined by my colleague Sky Sartorius on that part, we have all of our technical rules have been informed by over 100 discussions with both the aviation experts and first responders. So the competition is divided into 3 different stages. Stage 1 is the paper stage that is now open now. Digital submissions will be due in October. Prizes will be awarded in November. Stage 2 is the prototype stage where one can build either a full-scale or a subscale flyer. And then everything culminates in the final fly-off where teams from around the world gather to run through, or I should say fly through our 5 missions. And Sky will take a deeper dive into those. An important thing to note is that teams do not need to win a previous stage in order to continue on to the next stage. Part of why we're doing this is clearly, helicopters are phenomenal flyers. There are certain situations where they either are not available or are not primed for the missions that first responders are asking. So what we're trying to catalyze the creation of is emergency response flyers that are an additional tool. They are rotatable, they are portable, and they will be able to fill a critical gap for emergency responders so together we can save lives. To that end, Sky, I'd love for you to now start talking about the missions so that this team listening can have a greater idea of really what we are driving towards. I would say also for everyone on this call, we absolutely need your help. If you want to participate as a team, phenomenal. If you'd like to be a mentor to one of our teams, we welcome that. So too, if you are interested in giving a lecture to our teams, just as in GoFly, we will have the educational platform where we have the master lectures where experts speak about the disciplines and areas of their expertise to all of our teams. Then afterwards, we make that available to everyone worldwide so everyone can get better in engineering. We have those mentors that work directly one-on-one with teams. And then, of course, we have a whole host of in-kind sponsors offering free software and services and products directly to our teams. So there are so many different ways that should you be interested in joining us in this endeavor, we would certainly welcome your help. As you could see from the logos of all the companies and the organizations involved, it takes a village to do something like this. And we could use all of your help and your expertise. So without further ado, Sky, do you want to take over?
Sure. Hopefully my sound is coming through well now. And I guess, let's see, who's driving the charts? I guess.
I can do that or you like, or you can take over, your choice.
No, this is fine. So this is a chart of, this is a picture of a generic kind of rescue scenario, but I think it's important to talk about the background of when you look at the rules of the rules of the competition. And when I say the rules, I'm specifically referring to kind of the rule book that the referees and maybe some of the players are going to read. A lot of the observers from the outside aren't going to go into that level of detail, but still it's important to recognize where it comes from. And it comes from looking at a really, really broad spectrum of different public good scenarios. So I'll use that phrase public good a lot because it is really generic and it captures so many different things. Some things that are super time critical, some things not so much, and it's more just about getting a lot of work done. A lot of things that helicopters do today, some things that helicopters don't do today. So the process of developing these rules was about looking at what are all these public good scenarios, and then taking that and say, okay, we're not going to do a competition where we can simulate every single one of these scenarios. So we have to take those scenarios. What are the key skills and attributes that we're trying to capture? And then how can we capture those in a way that fits like on a playing field that we can build, fit into the scope of a long weekend, that can be measured objectively and tested well. These are the sorts of things that we have in mind. So it's kind of helpful to run through a list of, this is on the website as well, but we listed quickly some example scenarios. So retrieving an injured person from under a forest canopy, or delivering or retrieving a firefighter on a burning hillside in a wildfire situation, delivering a smoke hood or an AED to a high-rise window, retrieving a drowning victim at the beach, from the lifeguard tower, getting a first responder to the scene quickly in like a dense urban environment, particularly if there is building signs, wires, tight spaces maybe, or traffic, and then, or it could be natural disaster where you're just trying to move food and water around. Evacuating flood victims or people off of a sinking ship, dousing a nascent wildfire, rescuing somebody who's fallen through ice on a frozen lake, just locating and identifying and observing some sort of emergency situation, et cetera, et cetera. And a key thing here that we also recognize is that for public good missions, the importance of having these things function in very difficult conditions, because it's actually very unlikely that that these will show good utility and success, that they're not capable of operating in bad weather, you know, chaotic environments, including like uncooperative air traffic, obstacles, unknown terrain, not knowing what's going to be around the corner, those sort of things. So that gives a sense of kind of what inspired development of, you know, that's kind of the vision that was in mind, of saying, okay, there's all that, there's that vision, and then what can we do to abstract one level away from that to say, okay, what are some missions we can build? So click through to the mission summary here. Next chart. Yeah, so there are 5 missions. Hard to keep track of them. It's productivity, adversity, maneuvering, precision, and adaptation. There will be a summary chart at the end. So I'm going to go through all of these, but we'll go to the summary so you can keep track for Q&A. But I'm just going to go through these in order and talk about what we're at. Like now we're talking about this abstraction away from, you know, from these specific scenarios, and now we're talking about missions that are tasks that are being assigned on a playing field on a competition weekend. So let's go into the productivity mission. Oh, sorry, forgot to mention, these are single occupant vehicles. So the primary payload is this mannequin that I've named Alex, 125-pound mannequin, 5 foot 5 inches tall. It's a, you know, it's an off-the-shelf product. Teams can get one themselves, but these, you know, payloads will be provided at the competition. So these are single occupant vehicles. There are a lot of operations where maybe that occupant makes sense to be an operator, right? An active, you know, part of the situation. Could be that the occupant is passive or not even ambulatory, not even conscious as the occupant of the vehicle. But these are generally envisioned as single occupant genre of vehicles, but we're not specifying what that occupant is or what that occupant is doing. That's up to the teams to decide, but generally single occupant, and they're not, and there's no like human crew allowed on board. So all the vehicles that show up in the competition have to be uncrewed. All right, now let's talk about the productivity mission. Sorry, I skipped around a bit. So the productivity mission is twofold. It's first about quickly deploying the system, and secondly about continuously ferrying payload. Continuous deployment, being able to quickly deploy was something that we see as valuable in many, but not all scenarios. But because of the value of being able to deploy from a highway legal vehicle, right? To take, you know, a highway legal vehicle and trailer and have the whole system fit on it, could be valuable in the real world, and it is valuable for a lot of situations, but it's really, really valuable and important for being able to run the logistics of a competition and getting everybody to show up on a weekend, especially if, you know, they might not have access to the area the day before, right? They need to be able to show up and get done quickly. So we want to also test how quickly they can do. So the first part of the productivity mission is just testing that. So they show up, they're timed on how quickly they can get their system ready for flight. And then once that system is ready for flight, then they start flying on this productivity mission where it's simply a matter of ferrying payload from A to B. But in this case, A and B are co-located just from the practicalities of laying out a course. So it's, you know, ferry from this, in cyan here highlighted, it's a 100-foot long trapezoid. That's where you're allowed to touch for takeoff and landing. And then you just go run laps between a baseline and an end line, total of a couple miles of air distance nominally. Run it with payload, run a second, empty a payload, with payload, empty payload, and do this for 90 minutes. And so that's just a test of the robustness of a system to get work done and get a lot of work done over a long period of time. You know, this would be a good example of just trying to deliver a bunch of bottled water to an area that doesn't have it after an earthquake, right? Or it could be ferrying people, right? It could be ferrying wildfire fighters around a scene. Could be any number of different things, but it really tests the robustness of the system, be able to add cycles and work for a long time. The duration of 90 minutes is really the shortest duration that we still feel would test things like being able to, you know, to still forces teams to think about refueling or changing batteries and things like that. Yeah, and this is scored based on the, you know, how much payload can be moved in that 90 minutes. And that score is normalized by how much your total system weighs. So that includes not only the aircraft, but also any extra fuel or spare batteries or spare parts. And also a weight attributed to the number of people you use for doing those payload swaps. I just lost the slideshow on my Zoom. I don't know if anybody else did, but let's go talk about the next one.
We did as well.
Okay.
I think we might have lost Gwen.
Then Sky, why don't you
I
share?
will share, I can share the screen. Please hold.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, the next mission is the adversity mission, and that's just one where we, talked about how important it is for public good missions to not wait for day VFR conditions to get the job done. And so the adversity mission, it's pretty simple and straightforward, where it's just a layout of different areas where you have to go to that area, land, stay landed for a couple minutes, and then take off and go to a different one, land for a couple minutes, go, rinse and repeat, and just be able to do that in a timely manner. And so the different areas that we have are a pit of loose dry sand. There's an inclined surface, right, at a 12-degree incline, so just a hill, basically. There's also an area with standing water, so knee-deep standing water plus moderate rainfall, simulated rainfall. And then there's also an area where we're, with artificial wind machines, going to try to create stiff winds, but intentionally non-uniform, gusty, swirly wind conditions. Yeah, and again, this one is scored, the ranking in this mission is simply has to do with how quickly you can get that done. The maneuvering mission is a kind of a slalom course. This could be trying to get through a forested environment or an urban environment or what have you. This course that's on the screen right now is kind of on the size scale of a football field, to give you a sense of that. And it's just 2 operation zones, starting at the base with the payload. You run through the course to the spot. You go around some pylons underneath some overhead items. So obstacle 2 and 4, you have to round those at less than 35 feet. And then obstacle 3 is a wall that you have the choice of going around or over. And then landing on a very small spot landing of 8 by 8 feet, right? That's not the size of the vehicle, that's just the ground contact patch. And then getting to that spot through a gate that's only 28 feet wide. You get there, you unload the payload, then you do it backwards, then you touch down at the base, then do it forwards again empty, and then finally back at the spot the last time, reload the payload and go run it again. So it's a total of 4 segments, twice forward, twice reverse, and with and without payload. And that's just a basic slalom race, fastest wins. And then the next mission is the precision mission. The analogy that I keep using is that the maneuvering missions test gross motor skills, and the precision mission tests fine motor skills. So this is just in the time, take off and go do 4 tasks. The 4 tasks are tossing through a 6-foot diameter aperture, a 10-pound soft weight. They're pushing a button, which just is measuring purely being able to hold a precise station in hover. So this is a 5-inch diameter button that you need to depress within a zone of 5 inches as well. So kind of keeps the aircraft in that box. Popping a couple of balloons that are suspended in a pool of water, and then touching 4 spots that are in the takeoff and landing zone. So the takeoff and landing zone here is 75 foot long, and there are just 4 spots you need to be able to touch those, whether it's a hover hop and an air taxi or just taxiing on wheels, however you choose. And again, this is just timed, so that teams that are able to get these tasks done quickly, get them all done on the first try, those are going to be the teams that rank well. And then finally, the adaptation mission is one of simply a grid of markers on the ground. And based on the configuration of that grid, determines what you have to do. So whether it's a don't fly over it at all, or fly over it high, or fly over it low, the key here is that you don't know what the configuration of the grid is until after the starting gun goes off. So it's a task of assessing the field, assessing what's on there, figuring out how you want to fly it, and making those decisions, and then executing it quickly, and then going through the grid and then across the finish line. We can't, and then, by the way, so this is just, each of these missions, there's a prize for each of these missions, $150,000. If you just show up, do one of the missions and you're the best at it, you get that prize. But there's also a point system. If you do well in all 5, then you can win the top prize of $750,000. I won't go through the points here, but just saying that the points incentivize completing missions, doing well in those missions, right? Winning them or coming in second place. And then there are some bonus points for being able to deploy quickly or having some attributes related to low workload or autonomous operations. And I don't know if Gwen, you want to talk to this, but if you do, I would say, Gwen already mentioned the call to action of, people on this call have expertise that is relevant for participating, but also just in terms of mentoring, judging, things like this. And yeah, website, herox.com is the platform that's being used to facilitate the competition. So herox.com/GoAERO. And then I think if we click through 2 more, it's the best, that's the best chart to have for Q&A because it summarizes the missions. Yeah, that's all I had to talk about.
Great, thank you, Sky. So frankly, we would welcome your questions and comments and all of that. We certainly realize this is a group effort and you all have expertise on this call. So I would encourage you to ask questions. If you think that there are things that we got right, fantastic. If you think that there are things that need to be tweaked, we have a 3 months of comment period where we potentially could tweak the rules. So really we welcome your comments and are happy to take any questions you may have.
Well, before everybody else jump in, let me ask Gwen and Sky a quick question. Have we able to get some end user, the first responder, the EMS operators, firemen, and so on? Have we able to get their input and comments on the 5 challenges, missions that we laid out here? Were we able to get some inputs on that?
Yes, absolutely. We spent close to a year on the rules and had major input from so many different first responders and different types of first responders, and also from different locations. So there are needs of firefighter first responders. There are needs of first responders who are in urban areas. There are needs of first responders who are in rural areas. There are needs of first responders who are on islands or who work in incredibly cold climates. And so we tried to be informed by all of their needs. We certainly understand that these flyers will not be able to meet every single need, but we tried to be able to put rules together that are clearly actionable and desired by first responders as tools that they do not have that they need. Sky, do you want to add to that?
Well, I guess that's just part of the bigger background of how, the story of how this rule set was defined and how many different perspectives were solicited from so many different backgrounds. And when I write these rules, over the last several months, so I would say that most of the conversations that I had with any type of stakeholder or expert, so often most of those conversations lead to a tiny to a significant change in the rule set. So it's, all those inputs are really heard and integrated into what we've come up with for the competition in terms of capturing all the things that we want to capture as much as we can. There's, I have a list and there are definitely things that we're not able to capture. We're not going to do nighttime operations, right? Because we're doing things over a weekend. And we didn't, but, I still played around with the idea of, can we get an indoor venue where you can turn off the lights, even things like that. So but we feel pretty good about the extent to which we're capturing a very broad set of attributes that are valuable to public good missions.
Sounds good.
Well-
That's encouraging.
Gwen and Sky, hey, this is Carl. How's it going? So I know I've shared some of my feedback with you guys offline, but first I just want to say, like, I really do applaud where this is all coming from and the focus that you guys have chosen to take on for this competition. I think it's fantastic. I really do worry about the focus of the competition, because I was counting as you were going through this, and I counted what I would consider to be actually about 12 different distinct potential competitions. You know, you've got 5 missions, and then the adversity mission was actually 5 different landing zones, 5 different things. The precision mission is 4 separate tasks. You kind of have 12 different potential individual competitions. So my strong suggestion here is, and I know, is don't try to be everything to every one of the first responders. Just choose one mission and pick it and run with it and make that, and you can do another one next year or for the next competition. But I really worry that, I mean, I would not know how to guide a contestant to win this competition. It's a very complicated set of potential challenges that you've laid out here, and there's so many different opportunities. And when I talk to my guys, it's all about focus. You know, you're a small team, focus on one thing and knock that out of the park. And I worry that the way it's structured right now, it's really trying to encourage the competitors to try to do 12 different things. And I worry that could create challenges for your competitors. So anyway, that's my bet.
Sky, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump in. This is Dan.
Sure, Dan, and then
yeah.
when you're done, I will,
Yep.
Okay.
pipe in, but thank you, Dan, sure.
No, I respond as well, but I'm curious what Dan has to say.
Okay, so real quick, as you know, a prior challenge that shall go unnamed was challenged to get aircraft done within 3 years, amplified by the fact that getting a design to close to meet the requirements was Herculean, and very few got there, and none flew and won the prize. The challenge to get an aircraft designed and flying in 3 years is the same regardless of what design requirements are. Your statement is more about how to close on a design. Except for end effectors for the precision, it's still just a design. And once that design is picked, the challenge will be to get it done and execute against their plan. So, and yes, the challenges are many, and the first responder tasks are very difficult, and there's many things that need to be done. And so this is asking folks to think about how to pick the largest superset of those skills and close on a design that can demonstrate the capability to do it. So yeah, it makes your head hurt. There's so many things to do, but those only go into closing on the conceptual design. The task of finishing and executing is the same. And because this is not a challenge, it's a competition, they can close in time. And the expectation by having so many different things that need to be done is to get heterogeneous competitors. GoAERO will not get more of the same, Black Hawk versus YUH-60 versus YUH-61. It will get more like Defiant versus Valor. It will get dramatically different designs that will make it most interesting and provide the most opportunities for kit for future first responders. I hope that's interesting and on point, and I'll hand it to Gwen and Sky.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
just want to
Dan.
expand on
Okay. Yeah, Sky, why don't you go, and then I will give an overall perspective.
just Dan's mention of the heterogeneous designs, and this is Carl, when you said that you wouldn't know how to advise a team of how to win, to me, that when I hear you say that, what I feel inside is like, okay, good. I think that means we did a good job, because we really don't want it to be at all obvious what a good configuration solution is for this. Because one of our goals and one of the measures of success is going to be the variety of different approaches that teams are able to take, but still be able to show up with something that flies and is able to get some points on the board. That's the kind of success we're looking for.
So Sky, adding on what you said, I echo your sentiments in that GoAERO is in a very unique situation. We are not a company where we need to have a commercial product that we are selling at the end. Rather, we have the ability to catalyze not only the creation of new technology, but jumpstart a whole new sector of the industry. And so for us, when we look at the mission capabilities, success for us later on after the competition looks like there are multiple emergency response flyers, and one of them may be best for wildfire situations, and one of them may be best for urban situations, and one of them may be best for ambulance deserts. So that kind of versatility in offerings is a design benefit, not a flaw for us. We hope that, and who knows what will happen after the competition, right? They have to build it. We hopefully will have many winners across the board. But in 3 years, we hope that there are multiple flyers and multiple companies and entities that actually want to commercialize their products. And so, Carl, I completely understand your point. It is something that we spent a lot of time thinking about. And at the end of the day, we feel that versatility of mission and the ability of each team in different locales, right? We're 2 weeks into this competition, but right now we have teams from 6 different continents. So the ability of teams to be able to decide what is the best emergency response flyer for their locale and their emergency of import is something that really resonates for us and is something that we want to encourage.
Hey, Gwen, am I correct in understanding what you all have been saying is that you intentionally designed the 5 missions and the subsets and so on in the broader spectrum to encourage diversity and creativity for possible different missions and capabilities, and yet each team can evaluate and narrow down to what they choose to be most likely suitable platform and can score highest, not on all missions, not on all tests, but sounds like nobody can score 100% on every one. That's almost impossible, but whoever can win the higher points will be the higher scorer. Is that how that works?
Well, I would certainly say that wouldn't it be wonderful if there was one vehicle that could do all of this and be the very best at all of it, right? Of course. But when designing the competition, we open the playing field up to diversity of product, to diversity of mission, and to diversity of creativity, frankly. Sky and Dan, I'm happy to have you, if you answer more, if you have either differing or additional comments to add on that.
So,
I mean, the strategy of design is in fact a big part of it.
Understand. Other questions? Comments? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just saying that, yes, I think you're correct in that I'd say it's probably unlikely or let's put it this way, we would like there to be not just one winner. We think it would be fantastic if maybe there are some teams that are really good generalists that can do lots of things pretty well, but we also think it would be really great if there are teams that are able to specialize and really hit it out of the park on some of these more specific missions. And then if that is coupled with them saying that's because we're targeting a specific real world scenario and we're going to take this technology that we developed specific for this mission and then go turn that into a practical product, that's even better.
That sounds good. I guess other questions, folks? I think there are some questions on the chat room there. I guess Ananda was asking this vehicle must carry a single person, something. Ananda, you want to ask the question?
Yeah, so since we produce autonomous hybrid eVTOL aircraft for cargo only, so I just wanted to clarify if one of the requirements for the competition is that the vehicle should be able to carry a single person or occupant, or could there be space for cargo only vehicles?
So there is technically a space for cargo only vehicles. That Alex payload, the mannequin, must be carried on most of the missions. There is one exception. On the productivity mission, it is possible to fly that without carrying the mannequin at all and instead carrying some of the other payloads where there's the opportunity to carry 6 foot lengths of number 5 rebar or 40-pound sandbags and getting the payload weight through that sense, but not being able to accommodate an anthropomorphic kind of human stand-in occupant is going to be disqualifying for most of the missions. That said, they're not discussed in this talk today, but there are partial completion criteria defined for all of the missions. And sometimes some of those criteria have to do with being, allowing for some minor mistakes where you can still get some fraction of the points available for the mission if you're going after the top prize. But some of those just say, hey, if for some reason you want to fly this without payload, those partial points are available to you. You can't win the prize for the mission, but you can chase some points towards something else. So that makes it possible to have a vehicle that maybe the way that it accommodates that anthropomorphic payload is not maybe fundamental to its design, but maybe could be accommodated for 1 or 2 missions. I know that Mighty Fly was one of those that I did get approached a couple of weeks ago. Somebody said, oh, that GoAERO competition looks really cool. I saw that Mighty Fly presentation. They could do just a couple of adaptations and probably participate and do pretty well. So take that what you will. But I think that we're hoping that there are a lot of people who have platforms, perhaps that are designed for cargo, that realize that they, with very relatively low effort, they could come to GoAERO and showcase what they have. Either with modifications to be able to accommodate the Alex payload or not. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
I know that I think Mike had his hand up.
No, I was just I wasn't sure if Sky was going to answer it. I guess the question that Fernanda's question raised for me is you don't need to, like, currently it's not the Mighty Fly is not a human rated cargo airplane. And so since there's not going to be a human on board for the demonstrations, you don't need to have a human rated demonstrator aircraft, right? So you could do it if it fit into the cargo hold of Mighty Fly's current or next generation aircraft, then that would be sufficient, right? You don't have, it doesn't need to be man rated.
There's GoAERO cares about airworthiness only to the extent that the FSDO would care, right? In terms of being able to put on a safe event. But we're not evaluating things from like man-rated platforms like that.
Yeah. The man-rated, this is Dan, the man-rated is just one of many reasons why this wouldn't move directly to being a useful product. Most first responders have said you have to carry a large first responder who has a whole bunch of kit. And so the 125-pound Alex is not representative, but Sky defined it in a way, GoAERO defined it in a way that was more affordable to get the competition done. So you could look at the successful GoAERO contenders as models for a future system, but probably not yet a system.
So to echo Dan's statement, at the end, at the fly off, should we have many different types of flyers that show up, that would obviously be phenomenal for us. We do not expect that the next day that these products are immediately commercial products. Wouldn't that be wonderful, right? That would be a beyond a home run for us. But what we expect is there will be iterations. The goal of GoAERO is to bring the community together to create an ecosystem that does not exist right now, and to make sure that we are paving the way for commercialization. And so that's why we are working in lockstep with the FAA. The FAA, many employees in the FAA have helped us write the rules and will be shepherding our teams through what they need to do in order to be able to fly. So the benefit of the competition, the benefit of what we do, as I had said previously, is that we are not an entity, we're not a single entity that is designed to sell something. So we have goodwill and are able to convene a number of different stakeholders to collaborate in ways that, normal industry does not collaborate.
And maybe
So
for additional, clarification on my side. So if my company's mission does not include modifying an aircraft to carry, an occupant in the future, or make adaptations to hoist a gurney, or any other equipment that may be able to carry a rescuee. So in that case, we will not qualify, right, to participate, not, if we don't have that plan for the future, correct?
Are you talking specifically about your commercialization plans? I think that let me put it this way. The GoAERO competition provides a platform for you to showcase your current capabilities well, in my opinion. And to be able to be competitive, in addition to doing a good job of showcasing what you have, it would require some modification, but I don't think that would be that extensive. Keeping in mind that the human occupant, the test dummy, the mannequin, is only required to be carried in, quote, some plausible position for an active or a passive occupant, right? So whatever scenario you want to imagine, and you can craft a story around, hey, this is the scenario of could be lying down, right? Because I'm familiar with the cargo bay configuration of your aircraft, then that would also be fine.
So this is Dan.
Okay.
I'll just augment. GoFly isn't going to explore whether you're seriously investing in your commercialization plan. So what you submit as what could be done in the future doesn't have to align with your current process, if that makes sense. Did that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I was just trying to get a little bit more clarification on the requirements, of the program. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's anticipated most of the participants and competitors will write a commercialization plan, but won't have begun on that path yet. So the commercialization plan will be a story specifically crafted for the GoAERO competition.
So I see two more questions on the chat. One is from Carl asking if we will be flying all flights at the fly-off at one location, if we've dug into the logistics of this challenge. We are working on that right now. Yes, our plan is to have an extended weekend event. As we did last time at GoFly, we may have a couple of things happen before the actual event, so perhaps a mission or two before it is wide open. We already have our team in place to put on the mission, and that includes our event coordinator, who has, frankly, we've worked with last time and has put on the Super Bowl and the Olympics and flying competitions and all of that, and our air boss. So we already have the top experts in the world to help us put on the fly off and the logistics and the challenges of all of that. So we have that in place, but we have not at this moment decided where the fly off will take place. We're working with a number of different partners and have been offered a number of different sites, and we'll continue to refine that over the next few months. And then we have a question, can a team bring multiple aircraft to compete for specific missions with the provision that all aircraft fit on the same trailer? We were actually just asked this on the forum, and Sky, you provided that answer. Would you like to answer this one as well?
Yeah, so if you have there's some language in the rules. I think it's toward the end, so you got to keep reading for a while. But it has to do with kind of the spirit is that it's the same basic platform in terms of propulsion, lifting surfaces, things like that. In order for that same platform to get the points towards the top prize. Swapping out accessories between missions is allowed, but fundamentally different platforms isn't. A team that's able to field two different vehicles, that would be amazing. But that would kind of be two different teams from the perspective of getting points toward the top prize.
Or alternatively recognize that the gross weight of all vehicles would be the amortization of the productivity mission. So you would have to divide the gross weight by all of those vehicles.
Whole bunch of drone flight information.
Gwen, Dan, and Sky, hey, this is Carl again, and I really do hope that you guys are taking these as like, I really want to see your competition succeed. I really, really, really do. It's in my company's interest. It's absolutely these things that I'm bringing up are just because they are my genuine opinion as to what will try to help you guys be more successful, and it is my opinion. And you guys can please ignore it as you see fit. But I really do worry about if you're trying to complete all 12, what I'm calling sub-competition flights over one weekend at one location, given all the things that you've described, logistically, I think that's going to be a challenge even for Super Bowl coordinators. I think that is a very big challenge. I'm just concerned about these things. And I would encourage you to just dig in a little bit more on those fronts.
Yeah, the model is the team gymnastics competitions, whereby so much goes on simultaneously. That's the model for this.
Okay.
And Carl, look, you are you were a close friend of GoFly. You are a close friend of GoAERO. We always welcome your expertise and your opinion, and we know that whatever you say, it is said only with the best in intentions and the sum total of all of your prowess and your expertise. So that is always welcome. And whenever you raise a point, it is always seriously thought about. I can tell you that we are certainly cognizant of the challenges of having the basically pentathlon kind of scenario. We have already begun working with our team on the fly-off, and it's 3 years away. We have already begun working with the FAA on a how should I say? We have calls with them, basically updates almost every week with a core team at the FAA. So we are certainly cognizant of the challenges that we have in front of us. And I started the meeting out with a plea to everybody on this call to come and collaborate with us and join us. We get better with all of the questions, with all of your insight. So however you want to play, and Fernando, whether it's you want to be a team, or Johnny, whether you want to be a judge, or Carl, whether you want to give a master lecture, and frankly, to everybody on this call, all different ways of participating. I mean, clearly you can't be a team and, be a mentor as well, but there are so many different ways for us to be collaborating together. What we do know, what we fundamentally know, is that we need all of your great minds to be able to see this competition out through its fruition. And as I said from the very beginning, we may have gotten things wrong. If we have, please bring them up to us. There's zero hubris here. We are trying to create an environment where the best minds around the world have the support and the funding that they need to create the aerial technology that saves lives. It is our mission. Saving lives is what we are all about. And to do that, we need your help. So I know that we are at 3 o'clock now. I would like to close and say thank you all very much. Should you want to reach out to me personally, my email is lighter@goaeroprize.com. That's LIGHTER, my last name, at goaeroprize.com. If you forget that, you can also reach out to info@GoAEROPrize. And frankly, so many people on this call have access to many of our numbers and our ways of contacting all of us at GoAERO. So thank you all. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for your insight. And we look forward to collaborating with you in the days and weeks and months and hopefully years ahead.
Well, Gwen, thank you so very much. As I said, this is an exciting program, and you have not only our individually, but also the partnership and support of the whole working group. So please take advantage of that. And thank you, Sky, Dan, everyone, Carl, everyone. So I think what I'll do is move the presentation about the use of eVTOL aircraft for first responder, police, and medical transport application to the next meeting. That give us more time to dive into a little more detail. This one, I mean, this session, again, best effort, we truly can comprehend and heavily support the GoAERO effort. Super just in line with all our working group ideal and goals. I think this is really hopefully get the industry in the right direction to, again, helping people, saving lives. So I think we're all on the same page. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending, and we'll close today's session and see you next time.